My name is Alice Fothergill, and I'm a professor of sociology at the University of Vermont.
And I'm Lori Peak, and I'm a professor of sociology at Colorado State University, and we are the authors of Children of Katrina.
We had the good fortune of meeting in graduate school many years ago and started working on projects together. One project was on poverty and disasters. We realized we had a lot of the same interests in inequality and in disasters, and decided we wanted to work together. And we realized that we had a project that was perfect.
And so Alice and I were together in August of 2005, and we talked about that we really wanted to start a longer-term collaboration. And 2 weeks later, Hurricane Katrina made landfall, and we started this project on children and youth in the aftermath of Katrina. And we have spent the last 10 years working on this study and writing a book called Children of Katrina.
We wanted to really understand what their experiences were in the disaster. So it's important to understand that what happens in the disaster and what happened as the storm approached on August 29th, 2005 had long-term implications. And what we found were some children and their families had enough resources, access to transportation, places to go outside the city, social networks, people they were connected to, so they could safely evacuate prior to Katrina making landfall. And that was very important. So they were protected from some of what occurred in New Orleans. They found themselves, often some children, in secure, safe settings with people they knew, and they knew that they were safe and their family members were safe. And that is the experience of some children, but not all children.
So we did also in our sample have children and youth who were left behind literally in Katrina, that they were here in the city of New Orleans, which about 80% of the city flooded in Katrina, and these were the children who had the most harrowing and heartbreaking evacuation experiences, that sometimes they were in the city for days trying to figure out how they were going to be transported out of the city. Data shows us that we know over 5,000 children were actually separated from their families in Katrina, and we had some children who they didn't know where their families were. We had some children who really were in this city as it filled with water. And why this matters so much, the experience in the actual disaster itself, is because it then had ripple effects in the months and years that followed Katrina.
We focused on children and teens and their vulnerabilities, but we also looked at their capabilities, their capacities, what they were able to do for themselves and others.
And in the book, we really organize that information in three core areas. What did children do for adults? What did children do for other children, both disaster affected and non-disaster affected? And what did they do to help themselves after the storm? And so a couple of quick examples of that. Children helped adults in the evacuation by gathering up goods and helping to get out in the storm. After the storm, children helped other children by caring for them in the emergency mass shelters, helping them to do homework, playing with them, and getting them to school on time. And how did children help themselves? Sometimes they would ask for help when they needed it. They would become their own advocates. Children also did many other things, engaging in creative projects and otherwise helping with their own recovery, their family recovery, and their community's recovery.
We wrote the book, Children of Katrina, because we wanted to present the stories of children and teens in Hurricane Katrina. We did this research project because we really felt it needed to be done. There isn't a lot of social science research on children in disasters, especially continuous long-term studies. And we wanted to work on that knowledge gap. We wanted to fill that knowledge gap and really understand the social forces and social factors that mattered in the lives of children and teens in disasters.
And in addition to the scholarly contribution that we wanted to make through this research, we also, as disaster researchers, are profoundly concerned with the human condition, and we wanted to conduct a study that we hoped would contribute to practice as well, and in particular to helping children and youth and their families to be more prepared for disasters so that we could minimize or reduce the serious effects of these events like Hurricane Katrina. We really had many different audiences in mind. And so as sociologists, we hope that other social scientists with an interest in children and youth, as well as persons who study disasters, who use qualitative methods, we hope that they will find a great interest in the book.
And we also think it could be of great interest to people who work with children in some capacity, or people who care about children and their well-being in a crisis situation of all kinds, not just disasters like Katrina, but other types of crises and trauma.
And because we put children's voices really at the center of this work, we also hope that a general readership might find this of interest because their stories are so compelling and so fascinating, and we hope that people may want to read this book so they can hear their voices.